we saw you at the Palm was about 3 weeks before May 5th. How much happier are you today than you were when we saw you a couple months ago with everything going on and everything that's taken place?
I don't know how many percent. That's a lot.
That was the media lunch that we had to announce no announcement. There was nothing to announce.
Tom, over here. What was the deal changer last week to make this fight happen? It was off the table at noon, that was the deadline. What changed? What basically changed? If you can tell us.
Well, as I mentioned, there wasn't much of a deal changer. It was, Gennady was very clear what he would be satisfied with. He had made the concession to come off of a 50-50 split, which he thought was fair. Actually, we all thought was fair. He's the champion. He's the one that most people thought won the first fight. He's the one that didn't test positive. So he felt it's even, 50-50 split. Then he said, okay, for Canelo's ego and for negotiations, he would give him you know, the extra 5%, and the deal was dead. We had a deal in place. I have to give Billy Joe Saunders and Frank Warren credit. They had agreed to terms to fight August 25 over here in Los Angeles. Everything was set with the form, with HBO, with all the sanctioning bodies that Triple G could have fought another undefeated champion, added another title, the one title that was eluding him for so long that we tried to make the fight with, and you know, Eric said he was going to go in the direction because we couldn't come to the agreement. They were going to go in the direction of Danny Jacobs. About an hour later, he called back, had one last proposal which satisfied what Gennady wanted, and that's why we're here. So, look, Canelo Alvarez is not going to lose money on this fight. This will probably be his biggest payday. So whoever, you know, whatever you know, conjectures there are with splits and things like that, Canelo will most likely make the biggest payday of his career. He did make it in the last fight against Triple G, so Triple G brings a lot of value and the titles with him to this boxing match, and you know, this is the fight that the fans have want to see, that the media wants to see, and internationally, this really surpasses a championship boxing match. This becomes an international sporting event. It'll be shown in over 150 countries worldwide, and we projected to do much higher numbers than the first fight, and set the record for the biggest pay-per-view for this year.
From I understand, were they the ones who called you back? You didn't call them back?
No, they were the ones that, you know, they imposed this deadline, which, you know, I never am a believer of deadlines, and I'm not really a big believer in negotiating in the media, but, you know, I was on the phone trying to come up with a solution with Eric before their 12 o'clock deadline. We couldn't come up with a solution, and then that's when we said, okay, we'll just go different ways, and, you know, maybe in the future that we can do this. And then that's when I think they realized, look, they can't let this opportunity go by. You never know when you have a big fight like this. You never know if Canelo fights somebody else, if Triple G fights someone else. You never know if someone gets injured. You never know what happens, and if a fight can be put back together sometime down the road. So we're happy that we were able to work out the deal with Canelo and Golden Boy, and here we are. Lance, did you have a question?
I got one.
Oh, Robert.
For Gennady, based on everything that has happened since the first fight, how much respect have you lost for Canelo?
I don't know how much. Just a lot. I can see how much. I don't know percent. I know he wants something. He's a different guy right now. He's a completely different guy. He's not sportsman. Right now it's a different situation. 100%.
Gennady, what was it like for you when Tom says, you know, this is what they want, this is their final offer, and at some point Tom said that the deal was dead? How did you feel about sticking to your guns and getting the figure you wanted? What was that hour like when you thought maybe the fight is dead, but I need to get paid what I need to get paid?
I с нами раунды. Да, просто. Моя альтернатива была 50-50, даже потом я поменялся 45-65, и после в связи с тем, что все произошло, просто они вышли из истории и своим решением подтвердили, что не стоит это сделать, что это действительно настоящий ребенок, стоит.
My original demand was 50-50, but then I agreed to do it 45 because this is exactly how I thought how much they were, and they just confirmed that this is exactly how much they were, and therefore that's how we're moving along. And they knew that, and they have confirmed that that's exactly how much they were.
Lance, understand that amongst the team we had probably 4 or 5 meetings, and in every meeting Gennady was adamant. Gennady was in Russia. What happens. This is what's going to be. If it's not, we have another fight on the road. He wasn't good to answer your question. He wasn't concerned that last hour. It is what it is. We're going to go fight somebody else.
Esta pregunta es por favor para Abel y si puedes pasarse también para que nos respondan y a la traducción en español. Finalmente ustedes fueron realmente herméticos, aguantaron y finalmente dan ustedes a conocer el valor que tiene Triple G. ¿Cómo fue que toman esa decisión? Porque me parece que fue la más difícil. El sentar, dejar bien sentado el valor que tiene Triple G hoy en el mercado. Es la pregunta para los dos, para Triple G y para mí.
¿En inglés o en español?
Para ti en español y si me ayudas con Triple G.
Okay. Bueno, primero él, como dije hace ratito, nosotros como equipo tuvimos como 5 juntas. En las 5 juntas él nos dijo que lo que quería, le dijo a Tom lo que quería y no cambió, ni una de las veces cambió. Se fue a Rusia a hacer en la Copa y él estaba allá y lo que pasara, pero él dijo que quería esa cifra. Si no era, íbamos a pelear contra Saunders. No se iba a mover para ningún lado y él se iba a quedar ahí. ¿Por qué? Porque es hombre de carácter, dijo lo que quiere y es lo que va a hacer, si no, que se muevan ellos.
Pero me queda claro que ustedes dejaron también claro el valor que tiene el peleador, Triple G.
Sí, exigiendo el porcentaje que exigió, quiere decir que él piensa que es lo que vale.
Por favor, para Triple G, me ayudas.
You standing your ground with the negotiations, is that shows them what you feel that your value is to not only to this fight but in the sport.
Это действительно же замечательная сделка. Это большие деньги.
It is truly an excellent deal, and there's a lot of money at stake.
И мы оба понимаем то, что мы в отличной позиции находимся, и мы не собираемся терять эти позиции.
And we both understand that we are currently in a great position, and we're not going to lose those positions.
И они правильно меня поняли, что я не собираюсь отстаивать, то есть уходить вниз. И тем самым у них также больше риск потерять свою отличную сделку, свою позицию.
And they have understood me correctly that I'm not going to go down in this deal, and they knew that they will have a good deal either way.
И это говорит только о том, что они правильно осознают эту позицию, и мы правильно осознаем, и это будет получиться.
And it only says that they understand their position, and this position is favorable to them as well.
Gracias. Thank you.
Hey, Gennady. Now after all has gone through, like 12 rounds of Canelo and positive drug tests and everything, when you see his face and hear his name, what are your thoughts about him as a person?
I'm thinking about как бы я ничего не думаю о нем как человеке.
I don't think anything about him as a human being. I'm not really concerned about him as a human being.
Я надеюсь, что он все-таки будет 15 сентября на бой.
I just hope that he will be there on September 15th to fight.
But is there a greater sense from you just want to put some punishment on him after all he's put you through?
Нет, я же думаю, всегда мотивирован, я чемпион, ничего мотивировать. Его должен мотивировать, он должен вернуться назад, оправдать свои потери в позиции.
I'm always motivated. I'm the champion. It is him who has to be motivated because he needs to prove himself.
John, throughout your relationship that you built with Golden Boy and the negotiations that you had before, in your historical experience in dealing with him, at any point, did you have any doubt that this was going to be something that was going to happen?
You know, Muhammad, I always thought the fight was going to happen. I thought it was too big not to happen. Although when it came down to the last 2 days, like I said, Gennady, out of principle, like he said, this is a big revenue fight for both fighters, but it's not about that. It's about who's the best in the sport of boxing. It just happens to also be the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. But this is out of respect that Gennady demands as a champion, that he expects. We made a lot of concessions for the first fight. We made a lot of concessions for the rematch. When Canelo got suspended, he stood his ground out of principle. He said, either we'll go with this fight or we'll go the other direction with Saunders. And he had no problem. He thinks that fighting another undefeated champion was on a sporting level just as high as fighting Canelo Alvarez. It just wasn't the same profile, it wasn't the same revenue, but he wasn't focused on the revenue. It was all about the principle and about the respect for him as a champion. And he got the deal that he said from the beginning, and here we are on September 15th.
Gennady, obviously when we went to go see you in Big Bear, you talked about the injection marks and stuff that you saw on Canelo's body. Today you mentioned, he's a sportsman. Was there any reluctance on your part to give somebody like that a chance to fight for the middleweight championship?
First of all, everything I said, the commission has already proved that he failed the drug test. Therefore, if commission allows us to fight, I will fight. I don't really care about anything. I just want to fight, and I will fight either way.
Okay, and just one more, just as a point of clarification, you said initially, obviously, that you asked 50-50. So you said you kind of knew that it was going to come down a little bit from there, or was that a difficult process at all, kind of backing off of 50-50 thing?
I didn't know anything. All I said is, all right, I'm going to agree to 45%, but this is going to be my last percentage. I didn't think about this too much. First time I said 50-50, second time I thought, okay, 45-55, that's fine, it's going to be my last statement.
Tom, this is for you, Gennady. You were at Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, October, November, for the Patriots game. To hear thousands and thousands and thousands of fans cheering your name, you see Mexicans, Americans wearing Triple G shirts, Golovkin shirts, hats. Just what does it say to the fact that you've now crossed over into the fan base where Canelo is from in Mexico?
You know, Francisco, this goes back to him just being a great ambassador, a world ambassador for the sport of boxing. Whether he's in Azteca Stadium in Mexico City in front of 80,000, 90,000 fans chanting his name when he comes on as one of the Mexican heroes on the middle of the field because of the donation he made for the earthquake relief fund with Carlos Slim. You know, whether he's in Mexico City, whether we went to the WBC convention in China, he was just at the World Cup in Moscow, wherever he goes, when he sold out the O2 Arena in 11 minutes in London. He's a hero in Monaco. He fought there 3 times. Wherever he goes internationally, his brand is at the highest level and growing. And that's one thing I'll say that the fights with Canelo Alvarez has done, especially here in the U.S., has raised his profile. I heard people, whether it's at the gym, on the street, just talking about Triple G Canelo, and not knowing that I was associated. with Triple G, and this is the fight. This is one of those rare fights that crosses over, not just for the hardcore boxing fans, the casual boxing fans. This crosses over to fans who aren't even, to people who aren't even a fan of the sport of boxing. You know, they'll come to watch the fight because their friends are watching the fight. This has that snowball effect that will create more fans for the sport of boxing. And since the first fight with Canelo Alvarez, you know, his brand is sky high, and internationally, he's one of the most recognized sportsmen or athletes anywhere, you know, from any sport. So that's what I would say when you were asking about the question with Azteca Stadium. He has a great support from the Mexican fan base. They appreciate his style, they respect his character, and the fact that he respects the sport of boxing and respects his opponents, the way he treats his opponents, the way he his style in the ring to give them entertainment when they come and buy a ticket or buy the fight on pay-per-view. But it's like that really worldwide, you know, when it comes to the respect that he commands from the fans.
And then this question's for you, Gennady. With a roller coaster the last month, 6 weeks, did you deep down feel this fight's going to happen, will happen, eventually, if not the way it did in September, before September?
Yeah, I feel it's possible. It's fine. Everybody very excited. Everybody wants that.
Thank you.
Gennady, when you countered with 45%, was there any doubt in your mind that they might not have taken the deal? And if they didn't take the deal, were you the one that wanted to fight Billy Joe Saunders?
It wasn't about me being sure or not sure. It was just my last proposition, and if it's just take it or leave it, and that's it. Because I was the guy who wanted this fight the most. And if there wasn't any fight with Canelo, of course we would fight Billy Joe Saunders. We would try to make a fight with Billy Joe Saunders.
And real fast, when you heard Billy Joe Saunders hold a hamstring, possibly to fight your Canelo, what did you think? What were your thoughts on that?
I didn't have any thoughts. I don't think about these guys. If Canelo fight wouldn't happen, we would try to fight Billy Joe Saunders, and that's it.
Gennady, moving ahead to the rematch, what changes in your view in the rematch than last September tactically in terms of the pure fight?
This may be a better question to Abel. I'm ready right now, just I'm more excited. I really want this fight. I'm very hungry.
And Abel, could you, I know it was only a 2-round fight, but I know Gennady and you were very adamant that you wanted to go through, you did not want the long layoff. What was the importance you thought of that fight with Mark Rocha in terms of just keeping the rhythm in the sync?
We had been in training camp for a while. You don't waste 5-6 weeks of training camp and wait another 3 months for another fight. I needed him to fight just first of all, take out some aggressions. 2, he wanted to fight for the fans. Really, the money was not the important thing. He wanted to put on a show for his fans. His fans were expecting a fight. He was very upset. First of all, he was very upset that it didn't happen in Vegas because there's a lot of people that bought tickets, not only from Kazakhstan, but all over the world. Bought tickets for flights, made reservations for hotels, bought tickets for the fight. So he wanted to make sure that he was out in front of his fans. As Tom just alluded to, all the records that he set, fighting somebody that nobody wanted him to fight, yet the people just want to see him fight, so that's what he wanted to do.
Gennady, I want to tip my hat to you. First off, congratulations on winning this Ring Magazine pound for pound title. I spoke with you before about who was your idol. You mentioned Marvin Hagler. if he was in the room here today, what would you say to him?
Oh, this is hard question. Probably I tell him, and now I have the same position like you, Sugar and Leonard. Right now, сейчас мы можем повторить ту же историю, как we repeat history. Yeah, we can repeat history like your fight with Leonard. I'm very excited. And this story, seriously, this is definitely a story for me. No, maybe it's 100% for me and for my kids. You know, because for my friends, everybody called me, said, "Oh, gee, this is story, this history."
Tom,
Thank you.
Tom, you know, I don't know how much you're allowed to divulge, but if you could please, as much as you're allowed, just explain this Hail Mary that got this deal done at the, I guess, past the 11th hour?
It was past the 12th hour, Mike. It really, literally, there was no positioning, there was no more poker playing, it was dead. I thought when I hung up the phone with Eric that they were going to go, you know, he said that they already had a deal done with Jacobs, which I come to words that might not have been completely done. Our deal with Billy Joe Saunders and Frank Warren was definitely, had been agreed to. But, you know, part of the agreement was we wouldn't go into the exact details of what the final agreement was, but you can, you know, Gennady, if he wasn't, if he didn't get what he wanted, he wouldn't have agreed to the deal. So whatever you want to confer from that, you know, we can leave it at that. But he's happy. This will be a big promotion. It'll be a great fight for both guys. Look, it gives Canelo Alvarez the opportunity to fight for his titles. If Canelo wins September 15th, then all of a sudden this title belt goes to him. Gennady's other title belts go to him. So, you know, Canelo still has a big career in front of him. It's just Gennady stood on his principles, and at the end of the day, he got what he was looking for.
And my question for Abel: what are your thoughts about Canelo Alvarez after everything that's happened?
He was in my training camp probably about 6 years ago. He spent three different training camps in my camp. And as Gennady was just saying, he was a different kind of person. He was a very humble, very nice kid. It seems that today his riches have made him a different person. He's a very good fighter. He's an exceptional fighter. He's doing a lot for the boxing in Mexico, but as fast as he went up, they go back down. You know, and all the people that you stepped on the way up, you're going to meet on the way down. So I think that his persona today, his diva-like sometimes, his actions, what he says and what he doesn't say and what he doesn't do, are hurting.
You know, I know, of course, you and Gennady are very professional. We've had so many great rivalries over the years. There was genuine bad blood, like, you know, Guerrero Morales comes to mind. So you see this even approaching now, where these guys really hate each other? Or?
I don't think it's hate, but I don't think that it's out. Those rivalries were rivalries inside the ring, not outside the ring. So what he's doing, what Canelo's doing outside is hurting Canelo, not hurting Golovkin. But if this ends up being the kind of fight that we think it's going to be, then I think that could be a rivalry for the third one. And a fourth one. These two guys are not the kind of fighters like Vasquez and Marquez where they beat each other up and they can't function in the next fight. These two guys are exceptional boxers and good fighters, and it's not going to be that type of fight. So there will be a third and fourth. There could be a third and fourth.
But it's safe to say, as Tom was alluding to earlier, that there's genuine bad blood and distaste. Maybe not hate, but distaste.
It's not hate. It's bad blood just because of what he's put us through. And yeah, there is some rights, some wrongs that need to be righted, and they will be on the 15th.
Gennady, 118, 110 became very famous on Twitter. Adelaide Birds with a lot of heat. Do you think that you can get a fair shake? Do you feel like you have to go in there and knock him out? The same question was afraid of.
I don't even think about those things. I'm not pressured by any kind of factors. I don't really care about, what the judges decided to do. This is not concerning me at all.
Правда такая система, правда такая вещь. Кто может, он живет спокойно. Кто не может смириться с правдой, начнет суетиться.
Truth is such a thing that where you can take the truth, you can actually live with it. But those who cannot accept the truth, getting all anxious about it. And he's feeling himself very comfortable right now.
You guys, last fight, was preceded 3 weeks before by Mayweather-McGregor, and that probably hurt your pay-per-view, even though it was a very strong figure. This time, there's a lot of bad blood at play, animosity running very deep, but Canelo has only been seen, basically, with his Golden Boy promoters around him, talking about the clenbuterol results, and we really have not had any kind of access to him since. How much are you guys concerned that he's not going to be a willing participant in promoting this fight, Gennady, like you do?
Lance, just like we can't control, where he's gonna train or how he's gonna fight in the ring, it's, however they promote the fight on their side, is up to them. You see Gennady here, sitting in front of everyone, very accessible to the media. I've talked to Abel already. We're going to have, open days in the training camp for the media. He's going to come down here. He's going to do other interviews, other appearances on television. So Gennady's going to go through this promotion and this training camp just like it's another fight. Of course, it's a rematch with Canelo Alvarez, but he can't focus, or we can't focus as a team. What's Canelo going to do? What Golden Boy's going to do? We'll try to make the best out of the promotion that we can. Triple G is always, because he's the champion, he takes on the responsibility of taking the lead in the promotion, regardless of how the promotional structure is. That's his responsibility as champion, and frankly, that's one of the reasons why his star has risen so quickly from pretty much not being known here in America when he made his HBO in September 2012. Now it'll be exactly 6 years from his HBO debut. It'll be September 15th, 2018. And he is one of the biggest stars in the sport of boxing here, not only in the United States, but internationally. And that's the responsibility that he takes. And we'll do our part. If Canelo locks himself in the training camp and focuses on the fight, that's up to him if he wants to do it that way. But you see, Gennady's not hiding from anyone. A lot of times he's out of the country, and that's why we can't get access to him. But now that he's going to be here, training him in Big Bear, we're going to do our job to promote this fight.
Gennady, what was your reaction when Canelo didn't want to face off with you this time around? Do you think it's going to hurt the promotion at all? Especially since the first presser he did say that they didn't need trash talk to sell the fight, but now he doesn't really want to face off. What was your reaction?
I think he simply cannot look into my eyes. And that's all. Because he knows that I am correct in everything.
We're going to wrap it up here. If there's maybe one or two last questions, and then we're going to got one wrap it. Genre.
Hi, Tom. Moving forward now, a similar type of question as you go about to promote this fight and do all the things on your end that you need to do. Does it give you any sense of dread for the things you have to come together with them to promote the fight that'll be challenging or difficult from now to the finish line?
I think it's going to be very straightforward, just on a much bigger scale. We've done co-promotions with Golden Boy before. We had a very successful promotion when they had the champion David Lemieux. When Gennady had his first unification bout, he sold out Madison Square Garden on HBO pay-per-view, and the promotion for the first fight last year was very successful. So we don't anticipate really anything different this time around, except for it's on a much larger scale. You see all the TV cameras here. We're really here for the Ring Magazine presentation of the pound-for-pound belt, and you have all these, all the cameras, all the media here to see Triple G, whether Canelo's sitting next to him or not. The interest of this fight seems just on a much higher scale, multiples than the first fight. And I think you'll see the reaction from the fans, and everyone's asking me when can they buy tickets, when can they, should they buy their flights and hotel rooms, and the media requests already are going through the roof. So, and I think this time around, Triple G doesn't want to leave his faith in the hands of 3 individuals. That's what happened last time. We saw the result. The officials are going to be under a microscope this time. I think from both sides, but especially from the Triple G side, given some of the irregularities of the scoring for the first fight. And, we'll hopefully, it won't go into the judges' hands. Triple G has had a knockout streak of 23 in a row recently, and he just started his second knockout streak, right, Abel? He has 1 knockout, and looks forward to this being his second knockout for the next streak, and then breaking the record at the same time for what the great Bernard Hopkins had achieved.
How satisfying would a knockout be, Gennady?
Other than me.
Pretty satisfied.